To my channel. So in today's video I am super excited to show you my do's and don'ts with eyeshadow. Now I do want to say as a little disclaimer that I'm not taking the mick out of any way, shape or form how people do eyeshadow. I am just showing you tips and tricks to make it better. Eyeshadow is actually really difficult. If you've watched me from the beginning or you've seen my first YouTube videos, you'll see my eyeshadow game is not strong. So, you know, I have done all of these don'ts and that's why they're my don'ts. Don't feel like you're on your own if I mention something that you do and categorize it in a don't, because if it works for you, it works for you and you keep doing it. But for me personally, I don't particularly like doing it that way, and that's all it is. So starting on with this video, my absolute must, and this is a massive do, is please prime your eyelids. Priming your eyelids is basically putting down a clean canvas for your eyeshadows to work on. If you didn't have that nice base, the colors aren't going to come out as true and as pigmented as they really are. You want to counteract and get rid of all that redness and your veins and some darkness that are on your eyelids. I always like to think of it as giving an artist a plain piece of paper and getting them to paint on it, rather than giving them like some old work of theirs and being like, can you paint on top of this? Because of the textures and their colors, it's just harder. Then I'll always make sure that I set that primer so we have no tackiness or stickiness and it's not wet anymore, so then the eyeshadow and the brush hairs will glide nicely over it, so it won't stick and it'll be really hard to blend out otherwise. So you're just making your life easier for yourself if you put something on top. So a cream colored eyeshadow, a loose translucent powder, anything like that will work just fine. So the next do's and don'ts is how I hold my mirror and the way I place and position my head. So I'll always tilt my head backwards a little bit and I'll look into the mirror below my head rather than directly in front of me. So that will cause the eyelid to be nice and basically nice and smooth. You'll have no creases, because if you put the mirror in front of you and you're trying to see what you're doing, that creates creases on your eyelids, so then it will just make it harder to blend out eyeshadow. So you're just giving yourself an easy life by putting your head back a little bit and putting the mirror down. So for a transition color and for a transition brush, I always go for like a pale soft brown, and I'll go for a big fluffy brush. This is my 228 from Zoeva. I literally use it all the time, opposed to brushes like this where they're quite small. So this big fluffy brush does all the work for you. You honestly just need to do like big circular motions into the crease and it would just kind of disperse the eyeshadow and make it look really nice and soft and blended. And I like window screen wiper motions. What I do is I go up towards my brow bone rather than doing circular motions down and into my eyelid, because then it just pulls and tugs on the eye and it just basically makes it harder for yourself. So for my don'ts, it would be don't go in too quick with a dark color, and definitely don't go in with the shimmer for a transition shade. I always feel like shimmer just makes the colors on the eyelid look so washy, and the shimmer specks always go over all the other different colors, so it's very hard to see a difference and have that gradient effect. Also, using the smaller brush and just using window screen wiper motions or circular motions down is not going to blend it out as seamless as the way that I just showed you on the do's. You also want to make sure that you have a big fluffy brush for a transition shade, and then when you get darker you want to go for another brush that's a little bit smaller, a little bit more dense and a little bit more precise. And then for a color that's really dark, like a really dark brown or a black, you want to go for a really small fluffy brush. Knowing the right brush to go with the right color is honestly a life changer. Then for the next color, I'm going to go a couple of shades darker. So if I was to use blue in my transition shade, I'd use a darker shade of blue now. And always remember to tap off excess from the brush. So a lot of eyeshadow does stick into the hairs. By tapping off that excess, you're just going to make life easier for you, because you're going to be able to blend it out quicker because you're using less product, and it will blend out much smoother and more gradual. I'll always start to blend and work on that outer C first, and then I'll gradually take that color into the crease. I find it softer on the eye, and because of that darkness being on the outer corner, it just creates the eye to look bigger, and I just think it suits pretty much every single eye shape, this kind of way of doing eyeshadow. So my don't would be going in too quick with a dark color and using a brush that doesn't really give you the result that you'd want. So here I'm using a big fluffy brush. I'm going to swirl it in that eyeshadow, tapping off no excess, and I'm going to go straight into that crease and blend it out. As you can see, because the brush is so big, it just creates a big mess into the crease and it covers up all that work that we did on the transition shade. Trying to blend it out also is just going to make life harder for you, and it's not really going to do much, to be honest. If you've put too much on, it's so hard to blend out and you end up with that black eye makeup look. So finding the correct brush that works for you with that color really is a massive life changer when it comes to eyeshadow. As you can see, I've used the same color, but I've downsized in brush to a more precise brush, and I'm only going on the outer corner first, and once I'm happy with the outer corner, I'll then start blending into the crease, and it just makes a massive difference just doing these two things. I always recommend when building up the crease and the outer corner that you take it gradually. So you start with the lightest color and you gradually build it up. Also, patience is a massive thing when it comes to makeup. If you have loads of patience, you'll see a world of difference. If you try and rush things, that's when mistakes happen. When using black eyeshadow, I advise never to go in with a pencil brush and try and blend it out, because pencil brushes are too precise. They're too hard. So you could go the other way and use a brush that's a lot more stiff and doesn't have any give in it. And that's when an eyeshadow look can turn unblended and messy. And I've gone straight into the crease and completely forgotten about that outer C area, which is going to cause heaviness and close the eye up. So I'm going to go in with a smaller brush. Again, still have some hairs on it, so we've got some give and movement, but it's still going to be as precise, and we're still going to be able to choose exactly where we want it when buffing this black eyeshadow out. If you do use a pencil brush when blending black eyeshadow out, please tell me and I bow down to you, because I never ever can do it. If it works for you, do it, but this is my easier way of blending black eyeshadow out. As you can see, the difference of the eyeshadow look on either eye, it really does make a massive difference. Next, don't apply too much brow bone highlight. I do love a brow bone highlight, but you can go a little bit too low with the color that cuts off the eyeshadow, and taking it too far in creates harshness. So use it sparingly, and I only apply the highlight on the tops of the brow bone, so the top end of the brow bone all the way down to the tail end. So when it comes to shimmers and pigments, you always want to use a flat brush opposed to a brush that's a little bit more fluffy, so you can pat on the colour and basically get a better pigment payoff. And I always use Shadow Assurance Glue by Too Faced. So what I'll do is I'll put down the glue first, and then I'll tap on the shadow. So as you can see, the glue acts as a sticky base, so it really grabs onto that shimmer. Have you ever put shimmer on and then halfway through the day, because of blinking your eyes and your eyes getting oily, that shimmer is literally gone? But by using the glue, it will really stick to it and it will stay all day. No word of a lie, it is amazing. And just make sure that you blend out those edges so you don't have any harshness. So my don'ts would be, don't apply it with a fluffy brush and don't go too far up into the crease. One, you don't want to go over the other eyeshadow because then you get that messy look. And if you go up in too much of the crease, it just makes the eye shape look really peculiar, I think. I just find it just doesn't do any justice or is not flattering for the eye shape. Then going in with pigment, again, I'm not using any glue, so the pigment is literally flying everywhere and it's just not kind of having that impact that you really want from a pigment. You're not getting your money's worth if you don't really use a glue. So on this eye, I'm going to be using my glue again on top of that gold eyeshadow, and then I'm going to pat on that pigment. And as you can see, it just makes a massive difference. Another do is to make sure that you blend those edges of the glitter and the shimmer towards the brown. So I use little swiping motions to the side to really make sure that it looks nice and seamless and we don't have any harshness. You always want to make sure that you apply your eyeliner before you apply glitter, and I'll come on to why in a minute. But with eyeliner, you want to make sure that you do the eyeliner from the outer corner of the eye going up a little bit and out, and using a winged eyeliner brush will make the world of a difference when creating that wing. I also go in with a felt tip liner across the rest of the eye because it's just more precise and it's easier to handle. Don't start your winged eyeliner too soon and leave a gap kind of on the outer corner of the eye, because one, you won't be able to see the winged eyeliner when you have your eye open, and two, it just looks messy and unfinished. So just make sure that you get that area, and trying to draw on top of glitter grinds is the hardest thing ever. You'll have an unclean, unsharp liner. Even going in with a pencil or even a felt tip liner just won't look as sharp. So for glitters, I love using my lit adhesive glue, but what I won't do is dip my brush into the lit adhesive and then dip it straight into the glitter. I have done this before, but it honestly comes out clumpy. It's hard to blend out and it just moves in clumps, and you put way too much on, and that's when you get that harshness on your eyelid and your eyelids feel like they're stuck down. So what I like to do is I apply the glitter glue first on the areas, and I work in small areas from the inner corner to the outer corner, and then I'll just take some of that glue on my brush and pat it on and swipe it in place. You can choose then the amount that you want and it won't get so sloppy and thick quick. For the outer corner of the glitter, I always make sure I use swiping motions so it kind of blends in with all that brown, rather than leaving a sharp, harsh line straight down, so you get like that harsh start and stop look. So for the lower lash line, you don't want to go in too soon with too much of a dark color. So I'm going straight in with black, and I'm using a brush that's really dense, really small, and really flat. So it has no blending ability whatsoever. So you want to treat your lower lash line as though it's your top eyelid. So you want to start out with a transition shade with a big fluffy brush. You then want to go in with a darker shade and a smaller fluffy brush, and then the darkest shade with the smallest brush that you use. This way of blending your lower lash line is going to make your eye look so much bigger and so much open just by having it nice and gradual and have that blend seamless. You also want to make sure that if you're doing a smoked out lower lash line look and you're using black eyeliner, you want to make sure the black eyeshadow really gets in between those bottom lashes. Otherwise, you'll end up with a gap once applying your gel eyeliner into the waterline. So you just want to make sure that those gaps are filled, and you want to put on quite a lot of eyeliner in the waterline so you do have like that whole waterline covered. For mascara, you want to make sure that you purchase the right mascara for the right kind of result that you want. So if you want more volume, get a volumizing mascara, and you want to only apply a little bit. You don't want to clump up the lashes and create harshness. You want to keep everything soft because false eyelashes do the dramaticness for you. So with false eyelashes, you always want to make sure you size them up because they all come in different lengths. And when you cut them down, you always want to make sure you're cutting from the tail end, so your outer corner end inwards. If you don't cut them down and they're way too long for you, that's when you get that drooping eye effect because the eyelash kind of droops down and around the eye. So it almost makes the eye sag, whereas the other one fits perfectly and it almost looks like a completely different lash when you compare them side by side. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed and hopefully learned something new that you haven't heard before, or picked up some more tips and tricks that are gonna benefit you and your eyeshadow. Eyeshadow is definitely my thing. You guys know I love doing eyeshadow, so I've definitely come a long way and I've learned a lot. Please don't forget to hashtag me, Amy's Makeup Box, on Instagram for me to be able to see your looks. Please like, share and comment on this video if you enjoyed, and please share with your friends. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed filming it, and until next time guys, I'll see you soon. Bye!